Good morning, all. Welcome to day 6 of phase 3. निराशा में भी आशा की लौ जगा देते हैं। असंभव को भी उनकी सेवा भावना से, उनके महान कर्मों से हम इंसान उनको धरती पर भगवान की संज्ञा देते हैं। नमन है इन योद्धाओं को जो डटे हैं कर्तव्य पथ पर, आपदा के इस दौर में अड़िग सेवा पथ पर ऑफ जान बचा रहे वो निभाकर। वंदन इनके बुलंद हौसले को जो महामारी में खड़े कर्मवीर कर। जी हाँ, हम आज देख रहे हैं वी आर मार्चिंग टुवर्ड्स मेडिकल जूरिस्प्रूडेंस एंड आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट ऑल द हेल्थ वर्कर्स। आज जो सिचुएशन चल रही है कोविड में, हमने सबने देखा कुछ पॉजिटिव एस्पेक्ट्स, कुछ नेगेटिव एस्पेक्ट्स। 2020 ये साल न जाने कितनों के सपने ले गया और कितनों के अपनों को ले गया। काश अगर कोई इंसानियत को जिंदा करने वाला डॉक्टर हो तो कितना अच्छा हो। So this is the theme of our today's session. I request Principal Dr. Kundendu Kumar Dev sir for this. Sir, over to you.
So, today myself, Dr. Kundendu Kumar Dev, Principal, Navajivan Education Society's Navajivan Law College from Nasik, is very glad to welcome today's resource person, Professor Dr. Veena Patil from Narayan Rao Chauhan Law College, Nanded. Madam, we are very grateful of you that you have accepted our invitation to be a resource person on the virtual classes which we are conducting. This is the third phase which are continuing. It is a great pleasure that today's topic is with regarding the care in the frontline but impact of mind. There is a simple proverb which says that if money is lost, nothing is lost. Health is lost, something is lost. Character is lost, everything is lost. In the present context, with reference to the COVID, we should be very careful with reference to the health. Here, utmost care has to be taken for health. Then only we can survive in this. The vast knowledge from our resource person, and I welcome her on this occasion. I also welcome all the participants who have taken in the previous lectures, part in the previous lecture, and today also. I'm very much thankful to them because the good response from all the participants from our college students, my beloved students, and also from the external, that is from Maharashtra and other states also. It gives me immense pleasure to again welcome them. And by these few words, I conclude my speech. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Pandey sir to guide us regarding the theme of jurisprudence.
Hello, very good morning to all of you. Principal Dr. Dev sir, my colleague Shaista madam, other faculty members and my dear students. Today we are entering into third phase and we have with us Mrs. Veena Patil, Assistant Professor Narayan Rao Chauhan Law College, Nanded. She is going to speak on India's healthcare in the front line, in the back of mind. Friends, as you all know, that medical jurisprudence is the branch of law that deals with the application of law to medicine or conversely, the application of medical science to the legal problems. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed numerous flaws in our healthcare system as well as the legislation. In the private hospitals, looted against the corona treatment and many and were out of reach to the common man to prevent them from doing so. Friends, moreover, the pandemic has become a golden opportunity for administrators to expand their contract culture and deprive healthcare professionals of their labor rights, including sick and casual leaves. The frontline warriors are always in mental and physical stress and under constant pressure. Specifically during this pandemic, The junior residents, doctors, health workers, attendants, nurses, ward boys, they were beset for long working hours, inadequate supply of PPE, lack of accommodation, lack of good quality food and sanitation. Somewhere they uh, uh, have make dharna, strike for get these necessary things. Are they not having any fundamental rights, basic rights? Ongoing coronavirus pandemic are
I request Ms. Yadav to introduce the guest.
Good morning, everyone. I, Ms. Meenakshi Jadhav, take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Mrs. Veena Vijay Patil as our resource person. It's my honor and privilege to introduce such a great personality like Dr. Veena Patil ma'am. Ma'am is currently as an assistant professor in Shyam Chauhan Law College, Nanded from 1st January 2000. Her total teaching experience is 20 years. Qualification is BCom and PhD. In 1989, ma'am has completed her undergraduate degree from Nanded. After that, in 1994, ma'am has completed her LLB degree from Law College Nanded. In 1998, ma'am has completed her LLB degree from Law College Nanded. After that, in 2009, she has completed her PhD in Law from Nanded University. Dr. Mrs. Veena Patil ma'am is a research guide in law since 2012 and till this date, three students have been awarded doctorate under her guidance and many more are pursuing. Ma'am held position as vice principal from 2012 to 2015. She also held position as in charge principal from July 2015 to December 2000. Ma'am also awarded as IQAC coordinator from 2009 to 2015. Her research publication in national and international journals 20 in numbers. So we are very fortunate to Dr. Mrs. Veena Patil ma'am have with us as resource person. It is my request you ma'am, please enlighten our session with your knowledge and guidance. Over to you ma'am.
Thank you so much. Good morning to all of you. Respected sir of Navjivan Law College, Nasik, coordinator, my friend, Mita, the very versatile friend I have met in last year at National Law School, Bangalore, and Ms. Meenakshi Jadhav, who has introduced me kindly. I'm so much overwhelmed by the presence of all the Augusts who have gathered over here, almost 50 in numbers. I hope it will go on and on. The initiative that has been taken by Navjivan Law College is absolutely very, I think it is a congratulation and it is a very good of initiative that you all people have and has carried on the 3 to 4 phases of this lecture series, virtual lecture series. And today I am very fortunate enough to join you as a resource person. Now, I would like to share some about what Shaista ma'am have already and another professor sir who has already deliberated upon the medical students and the healthcare workers. Topic that I have covered, India's healthcare in the front line, but in the back of mind. This topic has actually is very nowadays in 2020 familiar to us. I think uh, India's healthcare was absolutely in the front line, is absolutely in the front line. But somehow, due to the present situation that we are facing nowadays, has a bad thought in our mind that are we really in the front line? Whether India's healthcare is in the front line or not. Now, today's topic all about this is the abstract of today's topic. Now, introduction that I've already made to you and Professor Shaista Inamdar and another professor, I couldn't remember the name.
Pandey sir.
Yeah, ma'am.
Pandey sir.
Pandey sir has already introduced the topic very nicely. I'm going to talk about a little bit about human rights. Then we'll be talking about medical next. Then the legal remedies those are available to us, and obviously accountability of medical or healthcare workers and problems faced by them. And in very brief, I'll be giving some conclusions and suggestions to you. Now, basically, all of us know what is human right. Now, we being a human being, we need not have a kind of separate rights as. But as you know that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, at the time when the Second World War ended up, they thought that there shall be human rights for human beings, because I think in those days, and as the history already says, that there were no human rights because human beings were not treated as human beings. They were not treated even as living beings, and therefore there was a need of UDHR, Universal Human Rights. Now, as we all are human beings, so it is but obvious that we shall need all the basic or the bare necessities of life. Now, everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and of his family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care, and necessary social services. Now, these social services and medical care, I think that obviously we need food and clothing, but above all we need is not necessary that when we are alive, that we are having a good life. It is not like that. We need to have a good kind of life. That means it is already said in law that a person who is living or who is alive, he shall have the minimum standard of living. And even when he is dead, there shall be a fine or a decent burial or funeral for him. Now, this is the compartment, or this is the abstract that we say that life is there. Even there is a life after death, right? So, these are the things which the human rights have proposed to the world at large. Why? Because the current situation at that time, was such that the people were not, they were in such a conflict with each other. Even the countries, the states, and the societies were in conflict with each other. So nobody was thinking that the other person is also human being, because might was the right. So that was the scenario at that time, and therefore I have started my presentation with the human rights, what the human rights are. Going to the actual topic. Now, our constitution has also bestowed upon us the fundamental rights. And among all the fundamental rights, or among all of the fundamental rights, Article 21 is of utmost. No person shall be deprived of his or her life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by law. Now, life of the Constitution isn't just the physical demonstration of breathing. I already told you that simply breathing or being alive is not a life. There shall be some dignity to the life. Even as I said earlier, there shall be a decent burial or funeral even after the death of a human being or even a living being. It doesn't imply insignificant creature presence or proceeded with drudgery through the life. So it is not that a human being who is suffering throughout his life and his living conditions are so poor that you just cannot imagine that a human being can live in such a drastic condition. All the time laborious work, no peace, no health, nothing like that. That doesn't amount to healthy life. Our constitution wanted the people to live. It is not the idea behind it. It has a lot more extensive importance which incorporates the right to life with human nobility, the right to livelihood, right to health, right to pollution, free air, and so forth. Now, this is all which is written in Constitution and under Article 21. But have you ever observed that right to health is not included as an explicit fundamental right in the Indian Constitution? Related to health are in Part 4, that is the directive principle. So here we need to understand what the Constitution wanted to say and what the state has the liability to take care of the people as related to the topic of healthcare. Now, I would like to I'd like to take you towards Article 38, which says that state shall will secure a social order for the promotion of welfare of providing affordable health care is one of the ways to promote wealth of about the right to health of the directive principle according to it that it shall be state to take care look after the welfare of the people. Secondly, under Article 39, health of works. Now again they have casted the responsibility upon all those people who are there in the state. Public assistance in cases of unemployment, disablement, etc. So these are all the burdens or this kind of responsibilities that that are already there on the state to take care of the health of the person. Again, I would like to take you towards Article 42, which says that the health of the infant and mother by maternity benefit. And Article 47 makes the duty of the state to improve public health. Then again, Article 48A ensures that state shall endeavor to protect and enforce the pollution-free environment for good health. If this is the responsibility of the state itself, is it not the responsibility people over here, those who are living, are we going to shift the burden upon the state itself that it should be the responsibility of the state to take care of the health facilities and the welfare facilities of the people? Is it not the responsibility of ourselves to live in a fresh and a clean environment? Then, a right to health alludes to and means the most achievable degrees of health that each person is qualified for. Now, this wording is somewhat, it doesn't, we could not digest this, that there shall be achievable health that each person is. Now, for being a human being, there's no qualification. When we take birth, that means as a human being, we have every right of the land. So automatically, there is no kind of qualification required for taking the fundamental rights of anyone. And obviously, when we are talking about health, as the principal sir of Navjeevan Law College has rightly said that if if wealth is lost, something is lost. If the character is lost, so everything is lost. So likewise, health is one of the important things in life, but it shall be the responsibility of the state. Now, the health has been lately viewed as the essential and a major human right by the global network under worldwide human rights. The right to health makes a commitment upon the states and guarantee that the right to health and is properly qualified for every of its residents as indicated by Solomon. Each right obligation to be satisfied without an equal component of obligation. Right. So right and duties, they go hand in hand. We are talking about right. Automatically, the duties are also on us. So but this is very saddening to see that when we are talking about right, we are talking about our own rights. We never talk about the rights of others. We always talk about the rights of ourselves. Now I have that right. I have this fundamental right. I have that legal right. This is my personal right. So what is it? We are always talking about the rights of oneself. But remember, when we are talking about rights, we are talking about indirectly about the duties also, because when we are talking about rights, we are talking about our own rights, but when we are talking about the duties, we are talking about the duties of other people. So it shall not be there. So it has been rightly pointed out by Somans that each right has a relating obligation to be satisfied, and there can be no right without an equal component of obligation. So it is best obligatory. It is most obligatory for every one of us that when we are talking about right, we should be also aware about our duties also. Now, let me take on towards the related topic. So I have drawn a chart for you. Now see, there are 4 to 5 components which you can see on the screen. So human rights, which I have given for my own understanding, that human rights are very good. So green color has been given by me to the human rights. So because when we see some something very green, we say that evergreen, right? So green is very fascinating color. We say that human rights are very good rights, and we being a human being, we can avail every kind of human right. Second, the constitutional rights, which I have given a yellow color to. Why yellow color? That though constitutional rights are bestowed upon each and in every individual in our country who is living over here, but how many of us know about our constitutional rights? Because if we compare the literacy rate, then you can easily understand what is the gap between the literate and illiterate. Rather, I would say not literate and illiterate, but rather the people who are aware, those who are vigilant, and against those people who are very dormant. They live as a human being, but without any constitutional right, without any legal remedy. Then comes the medical negligence. Now, this is the topic will be discussing in a further within few minutes. So, medical negligence is at, it has its tentacles very far away. Why? Because every now and then, there are people, there are quacks who are playing with the life of the human being. And medical negligence is one of the most prominent thing that has been exercised while treating the patient by the healthcare workers. Then comes the pandemic, that is COVID-19. Now, when it comes to pandemic, we are the most unwelcoming thing that we have welcomed in 2020. So nobody wants to remember 2020 because, as Shaista ma'am already, she has shared her views on pandemic 2020 because she has her own personal experience, and most of us have our own personal experience. It was very saddening year. It was very saddening year. So we have welcomed the unwelcomed things in 2020, the coronavirus or pandemic COVID-19. And let us talk, we'll be talking about the remedies. But firstly, we will talk about medical negligence. Now, friends, medical negligence is kind of a negligence which is, sometimes it is very difficult to prove the medical negligence of a doctor, because the thing is that those who are there for proving that a particular doctor has committed something wrong, the another doctor has to be there for as an expert. So that is a professional, professional liability that nobody shall abuse, point out some discrepancies or shortcomings of another person because they are having one singular professional or they are in the same profession. May there be a professional, rivalry between them. But as a Hippocratic oath, what it says that you cannot challenge the knowledge of the other person. Whatever he thinks, he may be having his own different experiences while practicing medicine. The another expert who is going to give evidences against the person who has committed negligence, may he be he will be from the same profession, and therefore there shall be a professional liability not to question the knowledge of the other person. So medical negligence is very difficult to be proven. Now, what it is said that medical negligence basically is the misconduct by a medical practitioner or a doctor by not providing enough care, resulting in breach of their duties and harming the patients, which are their consumers. Now, we shall be discussing a little bit about the misconduct by a medical practitioner. So, misconduct is a very vast word. I would rather use, a particular word for negligence, that whatever required attention is there, that goes on missing. So, if you miss something where you have a duty to be very careful, and you not only have you have not taken the utmost care, the required attention goes on missing, that will be called as negligence. If you are not doing it anything with deliberation or purposefully, so if something is been done deliberately, that would be gross negligence, that would be criminal negligence. but the utmost care and caution which is required while performing or treating the patient when it goes on missing, that would be called as rather medical negligence. So here, resulting in breach of their duties and harming the patients which are their consumers. Now you can understand the word consumers. See, consumers, are we the consumers? Patient is a consumer. So when the idea of Consumer Protection Act was broadened, so at that time when most of the cases related to medical were coming before the board, then it has expanded its view. There was an amendment in the Consumer Protection Act, and now the patient who is being treated or who need a treatment from hospitals or medical practitioners who are practicing medicine in a private or a public or any government officials, government hospitals, and those people are now being called as consumers. So here we can say that now the patient or the person to whom the people are treating, those are consumers. Now, what is medical negligence under criminal law? So there are two types of negligence: a simple negligence, we can say, and a criminal negligence. Criminal negligence is, the intensity of criminal negligence is more. Under criminal law, when it is proved that the negligent act is performed with mens rea, that is guilty mind, he shall be punished under the criminal law. Now, because of Code of Criminal Procedure, Amendment 1973, patient may get compensation too. Now, patient are eligible to get compensation because if you file a case under medical negligence under criminal law, and if the mens rea or the guilty intention has been proved, then the patient is able to get compensation. The intention to behave in such a negligent way shall be proved to make a doctor liable under criminal law. There are also protection given under the penal code for the doctors who act under good faith. Now, this good faith and the good faith that is being given in Indian Evidence Act is totally different. Acting in good faith is something which needs to be again focused. Now, prosecution under Section 304A of IPC, obviously 304A, that doctors can be prosecuted for an offense of which rashness or negligence is an essential ingredient. As we are all law students and students in the sense that even if we are teachers, to some extent we are students also, because lifetime we cannot be teacher, we are student also. I'm saying that those students, we are the law students. So Section 304 IPC talks about the rashness and negligence, which is one of the most important ingredient in fixing a liability under Section 304A, which says that uh, uh, that there may be some kind of rash or negligent act on the part of the doctor, and hence he shall be made liable for it. But they are to be protected from frivolous and unjust prosecution also. That is their side of say. Many a complaint prefers recourse to criminal process as a tool for pressurizing the medical professionals for extracting uncalled or unjust compensation. Such malicious proceedings have to be guarded against. See, there is lot more to say about the doctors who are negligent and all those things, but there is a duty cast upon the patient also. Now, when very firstly we talked about the fundamental duties and fundamental rights, it is applicable here also. Though not a single medical practitioner or a doctor or a healthcare worker, he cannot give 100% guarantee of curing the patient. No person in this world has ever thought that there shall be 100% cure for a disease, right? It may be because due to the physiological aspects that are different from person to person. One cannot say, though he is a super specialist in some kind of treating some kind of diseases, but even then he is unable to give 100% guarantee that he shall be curing the patient. And those whoever is giving 100% guarantee shall be liable for any himself kind of act. So that is one point of view. Now, a private complaint may not be entertained unless the complainant has produced prima facie evidence before the court in the form of credible opinion given by another competent doctor to support the charge of rashness or negligence on the part of accused doctor. As I already discussed that the another person who will be giving or deposing his expertise against the another doctor that the person has rashly or negligently treated the patient. So he is also being a doctor. He is under an obligation that he should not challenge the knowledge of the other person. Maybe the line and length of the treatment that the earlier doctor has given may be different, but the physiology of a patient may be different because out of 100, 1%, there may be 1% patients who shall not recourse to a proper medicine which was already given in the line of treatment. Whatever is being given to 99% of patients that are applicable, 1% of patients may not be comfortable with that kind of treatment and may have a different or adverse kind of reactions towards it. So therefore you cannot challenge the one medical practitioner with the other. Then again, the investigation officer, before proceeding against the doctor, should obtain an independent and competent medical opinion, preferably from a doctor in government service. A doctor may not be arrested in routine unless his arrest is necessary for furthering the investigation or for collecting evidences, or the doctor would not make himself available to face prosecution unless arrested. Now, it is very saddening on the part of the doctors because there are so many laws against them if he has made any act which result into rash and negligent. Section 312 and 316, which says about the causing miscarriage of a woman. Section 319 to section 322, causing grievous hurt. Section 336 to 339, act of endangering life or personal safety of others. Section 345, wrongful confinement of Indian Penal Code, directly and indirectly deals with criminal medical negligence. This was all about for your information that even if a doctor has committed something wrong, actually he can be prosecuted under all these sections. But obviously there are very stringent laws which actually but it is very hard to prove the medical negligence of a doctor. And then other laws are also there, as you have right now heard in 2020 most of the times about the IMCR, ICMR, so Indian Council for Medical Research. So every now and then it would be the responsibility of the ICMR MIR to say what are the health policies that are being presented by the government and other things. So any person incurred damage due to the act, any doctor's negligence, can file a complaint with the respective council. However, the council has the power to punish the doctor and cancel the registration for their negligent behavior, but does not have the power to provide the compensation for the victim of such misconduct. Since last few years, the Indian Medical Council has started taking harsh steps for improvement in standard of medical practice and medical ethics. This is all the background that what the accountability of the medical or health workers, that though they are doing their jobs very nicely, very finely, but still if something goes wrong, there are n number of sections which can be made applicable against them, not under the Consumer Protection Act, but also IPC. So this is the background that which makes the doctor very, very accountable or very focused, and ethically also it is very correct to say that when a person is in need, the very first person comes to his mind is a doctor when he is ailing. When a person is ailing, he is not well. What he thinks is he thinks about a doctor. So you can see that what kind of image we all people have in our mind, that what the doctor is supposed to be next to God. Now here comes the civil law. Before the introduction of the Consumer Protection Act, the claims on medical negligence is claimed under the contract law. Even in the present, damage can be claimed under civil law. But after the introduction of the Consumer Protection Act, the civil law remedy is given less importance. there is a specific contract between the doctor and the patient, either be oral, written, or implied terms agreed upon by the patient or his representative and the doctors or hospitals. So these are the civil laws which you can claim against the doctors. See, this is very, this kind of pictures we are really very scared of, because the last year and still it is there, that COVID-19 pandemic, which is the most unwelcome thing that we have welcomed in the recent years. In 2020 we have had never had any kind of experience as such. Now this word pandemic was very new to the world actually, because the world has seen epidemics, but they have never seen the pandemic. If we trace back the history, that an epidemic is a disease that affects a large number of people within a community, population, or religion. So our forefathers, our ancestors have seen the epidemics that were there. Now, if we ask our dadis and nanis and dadas, they will say that there was a kind of epidemic that had happened long back in the 70s or before 50s or 40s, that there was a disease called plague, where it was so rampantly spread like anything, and the population in a night they used to disappear from the earth. So over a period of time, this plague and flu and cholera, malaria, these kind of disease were to some extent they were epidemics. Even the swine flu, even the things which we have experienced in few years back also. So the SAR was one kind of disease which was there in the world, and Ebola was also there. So but it does not spread too much, so there was no threat as such for the world at large. But this pandemic has actually triggered in such a way that it took, it spread its tentacles throughout the world, and within few days and within few months, or within a day or a two or even a year, even an hour also, the population was vanished from the earth. So there's no official kind of figure which I can actually present before you, that how many people have suffered this pandemic. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic exposed numerous flaws in our healthcare system. Earlier, already there were so many flaws, but after pandemic also, we have not taken into consideration earlier the seriousness of pandemic. There was nothing left in our hands to struggle for the pandemic, to struggle for this. Now, the public health system is groaning under the weight of pandemic, while corporate hospitals stubbornly stay out of reach of most care seeker with over the top prices. Either way, the common person is at risk. Now, it can be seen from, or it can be experienced from the surroundings, that the hospitals that were specialized for certain things, they closed their doors for the common people. Why? Because they were not ready, or I mean they were unaware about what kind of treatment shall be given to the patient, because patients were not short in number. There were hundreds and thousands and millions of people around the world who suffered and who were lost. As it happens, it isn't a good time to be a doctor either. Even the doctor thought in that way, that why I am a medical practitioner. So every now and then, 24 by 7, they have to struggle, they have to take care. And obviously those government hospitals which were undertaken by the government itself, they do not have that kind of medicines or facilities available with them. Neither of any private hospitals were there. But all of a sudden, the corporate industries entered this era, and they have set up a major kind of huge kind of hospitals, treating or giving an assurance to the patient that they shall be treated for corona. And then the actual kind of business that started taking place, extracting huge amount of money, exorbitant amount of money, exploiting the patient. And there were scams, there were so many things that were going on around. But what actually the medical or healthcare professionals have suffered, there was nobody by their side. Actually the pandemic has become a golden opportunity for administrator but not for the doctors to expand their contract culture and deprive healthcare professionals to their labor rights, including salaries and casual leaves. Obviously, even I would like to share experience here from Nanded that there were hospitals which were all of a sudden established for combating the COVID-19 patient who are suffering from this coronavirus. And without any qualified personals, I repeat this particular line that without any trained official personals, these people have actually treated the patient in such a way that most of them have, they died due to the wrong treatment that has been given to them. See, when people are not ready for a particular thing which has come suddenly towards them, now when we are unable to handle those situations, at one point of time, these corporate world, what they have thought that whoever will be uh, ready to work as a nurse or or paramedicals or anything of that type, let us take those people. And those people who are working for a meager amount of salary, now their salaries were doubled and tripled and quadrupled, only that they are ready to serve the corona patient. But in the back of the mind, one has to think that the person who was treating or the person who were taking care of the corona patient, were they qualified for that? Were they trained staff for that? So we can say that there was a kind of vulturistic tendency of the corporate industry to gain more and more out of the drastic situation where the doctors were not benefited in the strict sense, but the corporate industries were benefited more or large. All major hospitals in the country have been recruiting health workers in the form of doctors, lab technicians, staff nurses, and sanitation workers. But now they are being hired for a 1 or 2 years only, and on fixed contracts that don't accommodate workers need beyond their responsibilities to save lives. When the pandemic ends, they might just be shown the doors. So they may be thrown out, they may be kicked off because at the right time they have hired, they at the right time they have taken their services. No matter where the patients, or no matter where the personals, those who have hired are trained officials or not, whether they have a basic ABCD of treating the patient or not, but even then they have hired these people for treating the corona people, the corona patient. And after sometimes when it was seen that the surge of this corona has lowered down, they kicked off all these patients, these people. This use and throw policy is rampant in all big institutions at this time, even as the government calls health workers as corona warriors and requires the people at large to cheer for us. Permanent appointments are quite rare, even as hospital face a huge human resource challenge. So the hospitals or the clinics which were set up in a fortnight, those all are vanished now, because once they see that people are treating themselves at home, the intensity of that virus is being lowered down, and people are actually avoiding to go to hospital because they cannot afford the fees which were exorbitantly charged from the patients. So therefore, people got a tendency of avoiding all these situations, and by the time the vultures or the corporate industries which have within a night or two they have set up these hospitals, now they are trying to leave all these people without any kind of remedy as such. So are these warriors, the healthcare warriors, the so-called healthcare warriors, are happy with that because their services have been taken, though they were untrained, but at least their services were taken. They were, they were projected as health warriors. But at last, what happened? There is no remedy in their hand. What about the medical negligence? What about the provisions under IPC? What about all those things which we have already read? So there is no kind of remedy to these people right now when they are without job, without money, and nobody is ready to help them. So this is a very devastating situation that these people are also facing. Not only patient but also the warriors, the so-called corona warriors. They are also facing this. Now, what is the psychological impact upon? In the light of unprecedented public health crisis brought by the India's COVID-19 pandemic, it's very important to acknowledge that the psychological impact of these decisions by hospitals on health workers. The mental and physical strain is significant and frequently debilitating. Workers are under constant pressure to test and successfully diagnose, isolate, and treat patients, all the while under intense scrutiny by the people, the press, and the administration. And see, the government hospitals are very safe that way if we compare to them. But when this kind of mushroom growth of hospitals had taken place during pandemic, what about their accountability? And those people who were recruited by them, is it their own responsibility? Is it their sole responsibility because they are having no kind of, they are not having any kind of backing as well. So the fundamental workforce consists of junior residents, intern doctors. However, executives and medical superintendents often fail to understand that they are learners and clinicians in training and not full-time employees. Constantly pushing them without encouragement or guidance is bad for health. There's also an entrenched conviction that treating patient is the sole duty of the doctors, a belief that has allowed some administrator to take advantage and excuse themselves from addressing doctors' needs. So here, actually, somehow the machinery has failed because these kind of extraordinary circumstances, the unwelcome things have been welcomed, and there were so many crises, and in that crisis the doctors have actually suffered all these things. And obviously when this coronavirus is again ongoing, so it has the corona warriors and all those people, healthcare workers, those who have suffered a lot, again initially they have to suffer a lot because now they are jobless. Now what kind of help that we need to protect them, what kind of suggestion we would be giving to them to protect all these people, because obviously there are also human rights of these people, there are also constitutional rights of these people, there are also rights which are legal rights of these people. So if they are left free or if they are unattended or whatever they did, there is no accountability on their part, then it is very saddening. Then we cannot combat whatever is going on around us. Now there are a bit suggestion and conclusion regarding this topic that we have already discussed, that although the current emergent pandemic is extraordinary and certainly call for diverse action, but the practicability of putting an absolute embargo on the legal standard of medical practice don't seems to be justified. Yes, it is unjustified. The solution may lie in a separate set of directives being issued in the light of the prevalent situation so as to balance the interest of the patient, doctors, and the stakeholders. Now, the government consultation with the ICMR may prescribe minimum standard of care for the patient infected with the COVID-19. Then, discharge policy of medical institution. A civil liability may also be claimed, and states may be directed to ensure transparent allocation of medical assistance by creating unified public portal for updating the availability of beds, ventilators, and the like for the period of pandemic. So here, pandemic has taken the toll of all of us, and now we have to think in a way where actually we need to overcome the problem of pandemic and fought like a warrior. It shall not be the responsibility of only the warriors or the healthcare workers, but it is a duty cast upon ourselves also. Thank you. I'll stop sharing now.
Thank you, Veena Patil ma'am. Now let us begin with the question answer session.
Yeah.
Any participants who want to ask any question to our resource person can feel free to ask any questions. Yes, one by one we can have the question, please.
Hello, ma'am. This is Manish Ranshur. I'm a final year student of Navjeevan Law College.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to ask you two questions.
Yeah.
First is really, it was a really COVID was a really very much pandemic scenario situation in Indian world, because we can see the statistics. 97 people, 97% people are got cure themselves without vaccination. And second thing I want to ask you
Yeah.
regarding the organ trading, organ
Yeah,
trafficking.
1 minute. Sorry to interrupt you. Let me make it very clear. I'll answer your first question, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. So the very first thing that you asked is, was there really a pandemic situation in India, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. So the people who actually has suffered, they know what was the situation. See, whatever the statistics those are being given, probably the statistics may not be appropriate up to the mark, but the people who have actually suffered know the intensity whether pandemic was there or not, because all of a sudden what kind of changes their body has taken, because every human being has a different physiology. Something which affects me may not be affected to you, right? So the situation was really very drastic, and of course what kind of scenes which we have seen, those who have lost their near and dear ones, obviously we are at a conclusion that yes, pandemic was there. What was your next question?
Thank you for clarification. My second question is about organ trading, organ
Yes,
smuggling, or organ trafficking. There are many cases that happened and still is happening.
of course,
People
of
are
course.
really claiming that. Sorry for disturbance. People are really claiming that their near and dear ones organ gets stolen by the
Yeah.
hospital and get trade. So
Yes,
what
of course.
what is your opinion on that? Your opinion on that, and what will be the remedies you will provide to the people who are really suffered of this kind of cases?
Yeah. So, yes, nice. So the thing is that you are pointing out towards this case which happened in Nagpur. I have also gone through from the news that those people who were admitted to the hospital where somehow their organs were stolen, and now this kind of smuggling is happening. It is not new to us, right? But the corporate industries, I'm not pointing towards the doctors, neither towards the patient, but the mentality of the corporate world, which are, they are also trafficking not only human organs, but the human beings also. So human trafficking and human organ trafficking is taking, it has again been this, what we say that, uh, vulture kind of culture that has been developing in our country and worldwide, where there is a situation where there is a demand of all those things. So even you can see the business mentality of those people who are actually taking the advantage of even this situation. My answer to your question is like this, that the whatever trafficking laws are there, it has to be made stringent. And secondly, may it be this answer would be very blunt to all of us. May probably most of you won't be accepting it, but the political interference should be lowered down. So when you are going to implement any stringent laws, there is a group of politicians, or there is a group of political parties who are opposing all these things. Why? God knows. But when you need to implement the laws, you have to be very stringent, very strict in implementing the laws, as well as those who are found in these kind of activities, they should be punished. Yes.
One sub question I
Yeah.
want to ask: what will be your remedies you will provide to the people who are really suffered, or the families of the people really suffered from this kind of say trafficking, organ trafficking or smuggling? Which kind of laws are applicable
See,
for
human
this?
trafficking. See, there is a worldwide campaign going on for human trafficking. Even if you see the statistics few days back, you can say that even if I take the example of Maharashtra, so actually it starts when the people goes on missing, and we never found a person who goes on missing. Why it happens? Where are the doors open where these people go? There is nobody to take care or to investigate the matter. So it starts when people goes on missing, right? Even if we register a complaint in the police station regarding the missing persons, sometimes we used to see that missing person squad is there. Even there are few photographs which are displayed at the public places that these people went on missing. But years together, months together, not a single clue is been found where these people go. So you need to find out where this flaw is, and why the necessary actions are not being taken by the government, right? As a person, as a resource person, or as an intellectual, what I would be saying that you try to find out the root cause of all these things. The root cause is here. The root cause is here. So if we are trying to register a complaint, the complaints are not getting registered, especially, right? Then even if your complaint is registered, what kind of investigation is carried on? And whether if the investigation has been carried out, how long it takes place to get to the conclusion, and at one point of time the case is closed out because nothing has been found. So this is the usual tendency of our investigating agency to actually, put all those matters in a cold box. So for how many days you would be pursuing all these things? At least 4 months, fifth month, 5 months, 6 months, years together. You cannot leave your job and went on to the police station asking for what happened about the case. So here you need to focus upon the investigating agency who took actually investigating all those cases, and there shall be a time period for investigation itself, and it should be very positive. Yes. Any other question?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for
नमस्कार.
मी विश्वजित राणे LLB सेकंड इयरचा स्टुडंट आहे.
हा.
आपला विषय जो आहे सायबर लॉ अँड मेडिकल प्रिसिजन्स. तर माझं असं म्हणणं आहे की जो इकॉनॉमिक फ्लो जो पैशांचा फ्लो जो आहे ना, या पॅन्डेमिक आता आला, म्हणजे असा इंडिया पण पैशांचा फ्लो जो आहे, म्हणजे एक छोट्याशा गोष्टी करता पैसे खूप घेतात मेडिकल मध्ये. आता एक हॉस्पिटल सिव्हिल मध्ये तोच खर्च तुमचा 5 रुपयात होतो, त्याचे 500 रुपये घेतील प्रायव्हेट मध्ये,
बरोबर
उदाहरणार्थ.
आहे.
पण
बरोबर.
हा जो फ्लो आहे याला ऑडिट अँबिट मध्ये येत नाही का? कोणतेही हॉस्पिटल किंवा मेडिकल इन्स्टिट्यूशन जे आहे प्रायव्हेट, त्याला ऑडिट अँबिट मध्ये येत नाही का? यांचं ऑडिट होत नाही का? यांचं म्हणजे मला की आव्हाच्या सभा गेलं कसं येत आहे. आणि आपण तुम्ही म्हटलं की डॉक्टर हा देव आहे. मला देव म्हणजे देणारा जो देतो तो देव. हे तर घेता येण्यामध्ये येणं आता समजून घ्या. तुम्ही हार्ट स्पेशलिस्ट कडे गेले, त्याचं शिक्षण शिकलेलं असतात किंवा हार्ट, मला वाटतं एकदा आला विचारा मला हार्टचा त्रास आहे, मग ते शिकलेले असतात की हार्ट पेशंट आला की टू करायचा, मग त्याचं ते काय असतं ते अजून जे टेस्ट असतात त्या करायच्या, त्याच्याकडनं पैसे घ्यायचे. असं त्याची गरज पण नसते. हा ओके, आपण चेक करून घेऊ की आपल्याला तुम्हाला आहे का नाही. तो पण विचार काय म्हणतो आपल्याला काय असेल तर आपण हे करू. पण या गोष्टीचं काय असं वॉचडॉग नाही का मेडिकल इन्स्टिट्यूशनला, ते फोफवले, त्यांना कोणी विचारणार नाही ना. आणि आता स्वतः या कोरोनामध्ये माझ्या घरामध्ये आई वडिलांना कोविड झालेला, तर आम्हाला लागलं. आमच्या पॉलिसी होत्या ठीक होतं,
नाही बरोबर आहे.
लागला 3-4 लाख खर्च लागला.
मी सांगते ना.
मॅडम एक मिनिट, यांना ऑडिट अँबिट मध्ये येत नाही का? जसं काय आहे यांचं ऑडिट होत नाही का? यांना कोणी विचारत नाही का तुम्ही एवढे बिल का घेते?
येस, ऑडिट होतं, नाही असं नाही, ऑडिट होतं. पण एक गोष्ट तुम्ही लक्षात घ्या. तुम्ही जसं म्हणालात की डॉक्टर हा देव असतो, म्हणजे मी म्हणाले असं की डॉक्टर हा देव असतो. मी म्हणत नाही. आपल्याला ज्या कोणालाही काही आजारी पडलो किंवा काही जरी झालं की आधी आपल्याला डॉक्टरच आठवतो ना. म्हणजे जे लोक खरंच त्यांच्या म्हणजे जेन्युइनली जे डॉक्टर्स पेशंट व्यवस्थितपणे ट्रीट करतात त्यांना तर आपण देव मानतो. ऑब्विसली दिस इज अन इंडियन ट्रेडिशन की आपण जर कुणाकडनं कुणी आपल्याकरता खूप सारे काही केलेलं आहे तर आपण म्हणजे त्यांच्याकडे आपण कर्टेसी दाखवतो. बरोबर. आता तुम्ही जो प्रश्न उपस्थित केला की बाबा पॅन्डेमिक मध्ये लोकांनी अव्वाच्या सव्वा पैसे घेतलेले, निश्चितपणे घेतलेले. मी सांगते तुम्हाला इतका जास्ती त्याच्यामध्ये काळा बाजार झाला की इथल्या म्हणजे आता तुम्ही नाशिकच्या आहात म्हणून तुम्हाला तुमच्या सिटीमध्ये माहिती असेल. प्लीज म्यूट युअर माइक्स दोज हू हॅव ऍक्च्युअली
Yes. Rahul Pawar and Vishwajit Rane, kindly mute yourself.
येस. याच्यामध्ये एक बाजू तुम्ही अगदी मी मान्य करते की त्याच्यामध्ये 100% काळा व्यापार किंवा काळा बाजार झालेला आहे की ज्याच्यामध्ये अव्वाच्या सव्वा पैसे लोकांचे लुटलेले आहेत. जे काही ज्यांच्या घरामध्ये त्यांची आप्तेष्ट नातेवाईक आई वडील जे कोणी असतील त्यांना जर कोरोना झाला आणि जर भरती करायची वेळ आली तर तुमचं जे इंजेक्शन रेमडेसिवीर असेल किंवा अजून कुठले असतील तर ते पेशंट कडनं अव्वाच्या सव्वा पैसे देऊन घेतलेले आहेत. एक गोष्ट मी ह्याच्यामध्ये अजून थोडीशी खोलात जाऊन सांगू इच्छिते की एक तर जसं मी तुम्हाला वारंवार सांगत आले की याच्यामध्ये कॉर्पोरेट इंडस्ट्रीजचा हात खूप मोठा आहे. ठीक आहे ना. आज समजा जर माझं हॉस्पिटल आहे आणि माझ्या हॉस्पिटलमध्ये काही पेशंट ऍडमिट झाले आणि कोरोनाचा झाला म्हटलं तर त्याला अतिदक्षता विभागात मला ठेवावं लागेल. आता अतिदक्षता विभागात मी जर ठेवलं ऍज अ रेग्युलर पेशंटची जी काही फीस असेल त्यापेक्षा मी का जास्ती चार्ज करते. मी डॉक्टरांच्याकडनं बोलत नाहीये पण एक छोटस उदाहरण तुम्हाला देते की आता समजा पीपीई किट आहे. त्या पीपीई किट एक तर त्याची स्कॅरसिटी निर्माण केली जाते की बाबा अवेलेबल नाहीये आणि त्या पीपीई किटचे पैसे पण डॉक्टर लोक त्या पेशंट कडनंच घेतात आणि ते पीपीई किट पण इतके वापरायचे आणि फेकून द्यायचे आणि मास्क असतील किंवा या गोळ्या औषध याचा अनाहूतपणे कुठेतरी तुटवडा निर्माण केला जातो आणि जी पॅरामेडिकल फोर्सेस म्हणजे जे काही नर्सेस असतील डॉक्टर्स असतील जी लोक 5-5 हजार रुपये पगारावर जी काम करत होती आता त्यांना त्या कोरोना पेशंटला ट्रीटमेंट करायला महिन्याला 50,000 रुपये डॉक्टरांना मोजावे लागायला लागले कारण कोणी तयार नव्हतं पेशंटला ट्रीटमेंट द्यायला. कारण जे काही ऑफिशियल नर्स आणि डॉक्टर होते ते पळून गेले. त्यामुळे आम्हाला काम करायचं नाही, आम्ही करणार नाही. मग आता काय करायचं. तर जी लोक स्वेच्छेने तयार झाले किंवा बाबा पैसे जास्ती मिळतात म्हणून तयार झाले तर त्यांना किमान 50-50 हजार रुपये महिना डॉक्टरांना द्यावा लागत होता. म्हणजे हा काळा बाजार जो आहे काही लोकांनी याच्यामध्ये इतका पैसा कमवलेला आहे आणि काही जेन्युइन होते त्यांच्या हातातच काही नव्हतं. ते काहीच करू शकत नव्हते. इथं कुठंतरी गव्हर्नमेंटला एक हे आणावं लागणार आहे. कारण मी जसं म्हटलं की पॅन्डेमिक हे आपण कुणी वेलकम केलेलंच नाही. आपल्याला एपिडेमिक माहिती होते. आपले आजी आजोबांकडनं आपण प्लेग होता, मलेरिया होता, कॉलरा होता या सगळ्या गोष्टी ऐकून होतो. पण पॅन्डेमिक वर्ल्डनी पहिल्यांदाच बघितलं म्हणजे माझ्या नोंदीप्रमाणे पॅन्डेमिक आधी कधी म्हणजे कितीतरी शतकापूर्वी झालं असेल तर माहित नाही. पण आपल्या या 20व्या शतकात किंवा 19व्या शतकात बघायला पहिलाच झाला आणि त्याच्यामुळे ह्याच्याकरता कोणी रेडी नव्हतं आणि रेडी नसल्यामुळे आपण जसं एक साधारण एक ऍज अ कॉमन मॅन आपल्याला काय वाटतं की बाबा आपण डॉक्टरकडे जावं आपल्याला वेळोवेळी व्यवस्थित ट्रीटमेंट द्यावी सगळं करावं पण त्या डॉक्टरांच्या पण काही मजबुरी असतात ज्याच्यामध्ये खूप लोक जे आहे सगळे हात धुवून घेतात. त्याच्यामध्ये तुमचे फार्मास्युटिकल कंपनीज असतील त्याच्यामध्ये तुमचे हे पॅरामेडिकल फोर्सेस असतील काही रेसिडेंट डॉक्टर्स असतील काही क्लिनिशियन्स असतील यांचा सगळा तुटवडा किंवा यांची सगळी भरपाई करताना मग एकच सोर्स असतो तो म्हणजे पेशंट कारण तो नडलेला असतो आणि त्याच्याकडनं किती घेता येईल मग या सगळ्या काळा बाजार याच्यामुळे सुरू झालेला आहे असं मला वाटतं. येस.
हॅलो. एक मिनिट मॅडम
येस
आपलं हे जर चालू राहिलं शिवसेना मध्ये पण एक्सपोर्टेशन चाललंय.
येस
म्हणजे तुम्ही म्हणजे मग वेगळी चिंता कंपनीची गरज नाही आपला आपण जनरिक मेडिसिन पाहिल्या
हा
त्याच मेडिसिन तुम्हाला ज्या एकदम निगेटिव्ह कंपनीमध्ये मिळतात मॅडम मेडिकल मध्ये
येस येस
याचं जे अवेअरनेस नाही लोकांना याच्याकरता ज्युरिस्प्रुडन्स म्हणजे इफेक्टिव्ह तेव्हा असेल जेव्हा अवेअरनेस क्रिएट होईल लोकांमध्ये की बाबा तुम्हाला जेवढी ट्रीटमेंट घ्यायची असेल ना ती कमी किमतीमध्ये
कसं
असते.
आहे ना आपण सगळीकडे पोहोचू शकत नाही ना. कॉर्पोरेट इंडस्ट्रीज एवढी मोठी आहे कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड इतकं मोठं आहे की ऍज अ कॉमन मॅन वी कॅनॉट कॉम्बॅट विथ ऑल दीज पीपल. सी याच्यामध्ये अजून एक प्रॉब्लेम काय आहे माहिती का. कॉर्पोरेट इंडस्ट्रीज जे आहे ना त्याचा होल्ड पॉलिटिशियन कडे आहे पॉलिटिकली इन्वॉल्ड आहेत. आपण कुठपर्यंत फाईट करणार ऍज अ as a single person, as a sufferer. How long? आणि आता तर have you seen that cases of medical negligence किंवा अजून कुठल्या आहे ते सध्या आता कुठे आहे? Everyone is a sufferer. Everyone is a sufferer. But with no kind of remedy as such. आपल्याला remedy सध्या तरी नाहीये. We will think about when we get rid of this corona. Then some people, the legislature may enact some stringent law for that. Yes, this is the situation. Yes,
Hello.
thank you, ma'am. Rahul Pawar, this will be the last question.
Yeah. Actually,
Yes.
ma'am, the reason why actually I'm not asking question, but I'm really thankful to Veena Patil madam that she has brought the corruption of the corporate. The reason why I'm speaking is I also belong to a healthcare background. I'm a pharmacist. And as Mr. Vishwajit Rane has also said that there is a lot of generic products which are available at a low cost. Actually, government is giving a lot of subsidies to such kind of generic cards, so we might be seeing, in several places. But then again, there's a dilemma in us because जेव्हा patient doctor कडे जातो, विचारतो sir Abbott किंवा Cipla किंवा generic च्या औषधांमध्ये फरक काय? So as you said, there is a lot of corruption. The best answers they give is की बाबा आम्ही guarantee नाही देऊ शकत की generic कसे बनवले जातात. But I would like to add here is की जे good manufacturing practices, जे ICH guidelines की follow केले जातात, either for generic or for any branded product, it's the same. So actually, we need not to fear. Like already a choice has been given to each and every one of us. So we can either opt for generic or branded. So I genuinely feel that we can directly go for generic and we can bypass this big corruption. Lily का बोलतोय? Because my father suffers from lifestyle disorder like high blood pressure and diabetes, and I myself have also generic product. Until date, I have not found any kind of adverse effect or any side effect to ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ. So I think that somewhere the government is doing this for a common man. So I think so it's time for us to take our choices. Like everyone has a choice. So we can fight with this. Because the legislation will be built, but then again a choice, corruption will come in the form of a choice. They will instill fear and they will try to bypass. So I thought I should add this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So somebody is asking about the Bhandara incident that took place yesterday where the infant babies were burned to death. Okay. So again, there is a flaw in the corporate industry that when you build hospitals and that too NICUs, utmost care should be taken that there shall be all the things which are really very much important for the challenges that shall be faced by a hospital in future. So all the arrangements have to be made earlier. So why these flaws? This is all, for gaining something, they are risking the life of people. These are the corporate industries. Not even the doctors, not even the patient. They are forced to do that. Yes. Yes, madam.
Yes, Deshpande. Deshpande wanted to speak something.
Yes, madam.
Good
afternoon, madam. श्री कृष्ण देशपांडे.
Mhm.
मला फक्त ऍड करायचं याच्यामध्ये, मी सध्या काम करतो जिथे राज्याचं नियंत्रण कक्ष आपत्ती व्यवस्थापन, कोरोना कंट्रोल हा पण आमचाच एक पार्ट आहे. तर मला फक्त त्यांच्या याच्यामध्ये तुम्ही जे सांगितलं ते सगळं करेक्टच आहे. काही लोकांचं नुकसान झालं निश्चितच त्यांच्या म्हणण्यानुसार की काही ठिकाणी जास्त किमती घेतल्या गेल्या असू शकतं आहे पण काही ठिकाणी. पण त्याला एक सोल्युशन असं पण राज्य शासनाने काढलं होतं की प्रत्येक गोष्टीचा एक निश्चित भाव केल्याचं एक लेटर, एक GR सुद्धा आहे की मास्क साठी किती लेअरचा मास्क आहे तर किती रेट असला पाहिजे. तर तो आपल्याला शासनाच्या साईट वरती मिळू शकतो. ज्याला कोणाला अडचण असेल तिथून ते घेऊ शकता. त्याच्यानंतर झाला इंजेक्शनचा पार्ट, रेमडेसिवीर काय किंमत असेल आणि कोण डीलर्स आहेत प्रॉपर कुठल्या डिस्ट्रिक्ट मध्ये हे सुद्धा मिळून जाईल. तेवढंच मला एक ऍड करायचं होतं. हे आपल्याला अवेलेबल आहे.
याच्यामध्ये मी एक थोडंसं बोलू इच्छिते की तुम्ही जी इन्फॉर्मेशन दिली दॅट वॉज ऍब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. पण कसं आहे ना की जेव्हा पेशंट एखाद्या घरी जर पेशंट सापडला किंवा सुरुवातीला जेव्हा आपण चित्र बघितलं की कोणाच्या घरी पेशंट सापडला की सगळ्यांची दारं बंद व्हायची, मग ती अँब्युलन्स किंवा ती व्हॅन यायची जेव्हा ती पेशंटला घेऊन जायची, तर लिटरली लोकांनी त्याचे व्हिडिओज वगैरे काढले. त्यांना त्यांच्या घरच्या लोकांनाही त्यांच्या सोसायटीमध्ये कोणी येऊ दिलं नाही. इतकं म्हणजे तो पेशंट तर त्याला तर तो ऑलरेडी संकटात सापडलेला आहे, पण त्याच्यापेक्षा जास्ती त्याच्या घरच्या लोकांना टॉर्चर केलं गेलं. तर मग या मनस्थितीला किंवा या मानसिकतेला आपण काय म्हणावं? ओके, तुम्ही जे सांगताय की सगळे गव्हर्नमेंटच्या साईटवर वगैरे दिलंय, पण त्यावेळेस कोणीच कुठली साईट बघत नाही, काहीही बघत नाही. फक्त आपल्याला आपला आप्तेष्ट नातेवाईक जो याच्यामध्ये अडकलेला आहे, त्याला कसं सुखरूप बाहेर काढता येईल याची सगळ्यांना धास्ती लागलेली असती. तुम्ही जी इन्फॉर्मेशन दिली ती अतिशय चांगली आहे, की कदाचित याच्यानंतर पुढे जाऊन आपल्याला हा अवेअरनेस जर क्रिएट करता आला, तर कदाचित ही जी सगळ्यांची जी फसवणूक किंवा लुबाडणूक वगैरे होती आहे, त्याला कुठेतरी आळा बसेल नक्कीच. येस मॅडम.
एक्झॅक्टली
Yes,
मॅडम,
ma'am.
मला तेच म्हणायचं की आता यूज होईल बा कोणाला.
येस येस.
Yes, thank you all. Now, yes, Mr. Yash.
हा प्रशांत गवई मॅडम मी. हॅलो
प्रशांत गवई.
मॅडम, मी
Yes,
प्रशांत
sir.
गवई सेकंड इयर नवजीवन लॉ कॉलेजला आहे. आणि मॅडम जे डॉक्टर लोक जे किंवा मेडिकल मध्ये काही जास्त पैसे घेतात किंवा पावती देत नाही, तेव्हा मी फूड अँड ड्रग मध्येच आहे मॅडम. तर फूड अँड ड्रग ऑफिस हे प्रत्येक जिल्ह्याला आहे, तर तुम्ही कंप्लेंट करू शकता. हे मला ऑडिट होत नाही, ऑडिट होते आमचे इन्स्पेक्टर लोक जातात.
हो, येस येस.
मॅडम,
Yes.
तर फूड अँड ड्रग मध्ये तुम्ही कंप्लेंट करू शकता. कोणी
Okay.
बोगस डॉक्टर किंवा कोणी पावती देत नसेल मेडिकलचा, एवढंच बोलू इच्छितो.
ओके, थँक्यू सो
Yes.
मच.
Now, मॅडम मला असं सांगायचं आहे की खूप सुंदर असं झालेलं आहे प्रोग्राम. आणि
Thank you.
मला आता स्टुडंट्सला थांबवावं लागतंय की बस आता भरपूर प्रश्न झाले आहेत. अँड इट वॉज रिअली अ वंडरफुल सेशन मॅम, बिकॉज
Thank you.
कुठेतरी हा इतका जिव्हाळ्याचा विषय आहे. जेव्हा आपली चर्चा झाली की आपल्याला हा विषय का निवडायचा आहे, बिकॉज लॉज आहे, फॉरेन्सिक सायन्स आहे, अभ्यास आहे, पुस्तकं आहेत, पण सडनली हा कोरोना जो असा पाहुणा आलेला आहे, जो सगळ्यांना नकोसा झालेला आहे आणि तो सगळ्यांना जो त्रास देऊन चाललेला आहे, ही माणुसकी कुठे लोक जपताय की नाही जपत, कुठे चाललेलं आहे, हे जग कुठे चाललंय. म्हणजे आम्ही सुद्धा नवजीवन लॉ कॉलेजनी खूप लोकांची SW च्या माध्यमातून सुद्धा मास्क मेकिंग असेल, NSS च्या माध्यमातून मास्क मेकिंग लोकांना मदत केली. खूप लोकांना जेवणाचे साधनं, कोणाला घरी पोहोचण्यासाठी मदत केली, भरपूर काही गोष्टी झाल्या. पण एवढ्या सगळ्या सिच्युएशन्स मध्ये म्हणजे मला माझे वडील एक्सपायर झाले कोरोना या काळामध्ये. आणि ज्या काही गोष्टी आम्ही फेस केलेल्या आहेत की लिटरली की म्हणजे ह्युमॅनिटी कुठे आहे असं दिसतच नाही या जगामध्ये. कधीतरी असं वाटतंय की प्रत्येकाला हे सांगावं की कोरोना हे प्रत्येकाच्या दारी येणार आहे आणि प्रत्येकाने एकमेकांची साथ द्यायला पाहिजे आणि एकमेकांची साथ सोडू नये, माणुसकी जपावी, असंच मला सगळ्यांना रिक्वेस्ट करायची आहे. सो लेट अस गो टुवर्ड्स द एंड ऑफ सेशन. I request Mr. Mahesh Pimparkar, student of ELAB, to kindly